Imagine standing at the altar, heart pounding, ready to marry the love of your life, only for your best friend, your maid of honor, to object, not as a joke, but with a chilling, dead serious glare that screams pure hatred. And then, she drops a bombshell so vile, so utterly soul-crushing, that it shatters your entire world right there, in front of everyone you love. This isn't some made-up drama. This was my wedding day. It all started innocently enough. Laura was my best friend, practically a sister, and she was about to marry my brother, Anthony, her high school sweetheart. I was thrilled, truly. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I accepted without hesitation. The bachelorette party was supposed to be a fun, last hurrah for her. We went on a trip, and things were great for a while. Then, she hired male dancers. Now, I'm no prude, but what happened next made my jaw absolutely hit the floor. Laura, my best friend, the woman about to marry my innocent brother, slept with every single one of them. Not just one, every single dancer she hired. My stomach churned. How could she? When I confronted her, my voice shaking with disbelief, she looked at me with cold, calculated eyes. She said if I dared breathe a word to Anthony, she'd expose my past as an adult entertainer to my conservative boyfriend, Todd. My blood ran cold. My secret, something I was planning to share with Todd on my own terms, weaponized against me. I was trapped. On one hand, this was my brother, Anthony, my sweet, trusting brother, about to marry a woman who had just committed such a vile betrayal. It would devastate him. On the other hand, my own happiness, my future with Todd, was on the line. I felt a crushing weight of guilt and fear. When we got back from the trip, Anthony met us, eager to hear all about it. I looked at Laura, searching for even a flicker of remorse, a hint of shame. Nothing. Not a single ounce. She just smiled, talked about how relaxing it was, how much fun she had, how she really needed that time. My brother, completely oblivious, just beamed at her, so happy she'd enjoyed herself. My heart ached for him. The next week, Laura and I were deep in wedding planning. She was talking about decorations, seating charts, but I wasn't really listening. All I could see were flashes of those men, going into her room. The guilt was eating me alive. I couldn't let my brother walk into this blind. She broke me out of my trance. "Emily? Are you even listening to me?" she snapped. I mumbled an apology, my mind racing. I had to tell Anthony. But how? These were heavy accusations, and I had no proof. That's when an idea, a risky, desperate plan, formed in my mind. The next day, I invited Laura to brunch at a new restaurant. I set my phone on the table, casually, with the voice recorder running. We chit-chat like old times, carefully avoiding the elephant in the room. Then, I steered the conversation. "You know," I said, "one of the other bridesmaids got a guy's number from the resort. They're already planning a date." Laura's eyes lit up. "Ooh, juicy. Spill the tea," she giggled. I played it cool, joked that this bridesmaid might even get proposed to at Laura's wedding. Laura laughed, a little wistfully. "I wish I could have gotten one of those guys' numbers," she said, almost to herself. My heart pounded. This was it. "Oh yeah? Which one?" I asked, feigning casual interest, pushing my phone just a little closer. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The second guy," she confessed, a dreamy look on her face. "He was so good in bed." I almost choked on my water. "The best out of all of them?" I pushed. She nodded, her eyes sparkling. "By a long shot." We shared a fake laugh, the recording capturing every damning word. As soon as we hugged goodbye, I raced to my car and called Anthony. "I need to talk to you now," I said, my voice urgent. "Don't tell Laura. Meet me at my place." He sounded worried, but he came. When he arrived, I led him to the couch, my hands trembling as I pulled out my phone. "I need you to hear something," I whispered. I played the audio. The color drained from his face as he listened to his fiancée, my best friend, recount her infidelity with such casual relish. The silence in the room afterward was deafening, heavy with shattered trust. He finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. She told me she had a lot of fun and really needed that night. She even said guys were hitting on her, but she flashed the ring I bought her every time. His eyes met mine, brimming with pain. I can't believe she lied to me. I apologized, my heart aching for him. I know it's a terrible way to find out, but you had to know the real person you were marrying. He asked why I waited, and I finally told him about Laura's threat. He was shocked, but his love for me shone through. That shouldn't matter, he said, shaking his head. Todd should know the real you. I explained that Todd was conservative, and I wanted to tell him myself. When the time was right, Anthony hugged me tightly. I'm sorry you got caught in the crossfire, sis. I told him he had to break up with Laura for another reason, one that wouldn't point back to me or the recording, because her threat still loomed over my head. 2 weeks before the wedding, my phone rang. It was Laura. She was screaming, sobbing, barely coherent. All I could make out was, he left me. He left me. Anthony had called off the wedding. She told me he claimed they weren't compatible and had found some evidence on her phone. I feigned shock, asked if there was another girl. I told her Anthony was head over heels for her, that I had no idea what could have happened. For a moment, her raw pain made me feel a pang of guilt. I knew I had to be there for her. For months, Laura basically lived on my couch, a permanent fixture of grief and self-pity. I tried everything, her favorite candies, endless movie nights. But you don't realize how many movies are about happy couples until you're trying to distract a heartbroken ex-fiancé. I listened to her vent, held her while she cried. She even asked me to talk to Anthony, to get him to take her back. Laura, I said gently, you broke his heart. There's no coming back from that. She cried even more. Slowly, the tears started to dry. She began asking about Todd and me, how we were so happy, and if Todd knew about my past. Not yet, I admitted. I want to tell him on my own terms. She looked at me, a strange glint in her eye. You should tell him soon, Emily. You don't want what happened to me to happen to you. I just shrugged. It's my relationship, Laura. I'll handle it my way. Eventually, after months of being a third wheel in my own home, she moved back into her apartment. She started visiting less, but when she did, she seemed happier. Space was good for her, I thought. I was glad she was healing. One evening, at dinner, Todd mentioned Laura. Glad she was doing better. He asked about Anthony, and I realized I hadn't checked in with my brother in a while. I'll call him tomorrow, I promised. Then, the waiter brought a dessert I hadn't ordered. As I tried to explain the mistake, I saw it, spelled out in chocolate sauce. Will you marry me? Todd was on one knee, his eyes full of love. I nearly fainted. Butterflies erupted in my stomach, and I managed a shaky yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, kissed me, and I hugged him, tears of joy streaming down my face. The next day, I met Anthony. He was overjoyed to hear about Todd and me. You're so lucky, sis, he said, a touch of melancholy in his voice, to find someone so genuine and loving, unlike, well, you know. I laughed, agreeing. You dodged a bullet, Anthony. If it weren't for me, you'd be stuck with a liar. He grinned. My big sister always looks out for me. You were a genius for recording her. I would have been blinded by love if I hadn't heard it myself. It felt good to hear him say that. We spent the rest of the day catching up, and I was so relieved to see him doing well. The next few months were a blur of wedding planning. I was hesitant to ask Laura to be my maid of honor, given what had happened to her wedding. But she was my best friend, and I felt I had to. When I asked, she shrieked with delight. Yes. I was genuinely happy. She was still excited for me. We dove into decorations, venues, cakes. This was it, my wedding. I daydreamed about marrying Todd, and it was coming so fast. One Saturday, Laura and I went back to that same restaurant for lunch. The food was so good, I had to come back, she exclaimed. When I arrived, she had a gift for me, a cartoon drawing of Todd and me, with exaggerated features, like a fairground sketch. My cartoon had a huge mouth, and I laughed. Where did you get this? I asked. The fair hasn't been here in months. She just smiled. I know a guy. They're so accurate, right? I agreed, playing along. She said we had to frame it and hang it above our bed. I just said, it'll go somewhere for sure. Over our delicious meal, Laura asked if I was nervous. A little, I confessed. I still haven't told Todd about my past, and I just hope it won't make a big difference. Laura paused, then looked me dead in the eye. It shouldn't, she said, her voice surprisingly firm, if he really loves you for who you are. I nodded, agreeing with her words, if not her unsettling tone. We finished our lunch, totally unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Then my wedding day arrived. Soft music filled the air as I prepared to walk down the aisle. Laura, my maid of honor, stood beside me, adjusting my veil. I saw the smiling faces of our family and friends, a joyous blur. Nervous, but so happy. The officiant began. If anyone objects to this union, he paused, speak now or forever hold your peace. A voice, shockingly familiar, sliced through the quiet. Me. I actually laughed, thinking it was a silly joke, maybe one of my cousins. But then I turned around. It was Laura, and her face was not smiling. I'm serious, she declared, her voice cold as ice. The crowd gasped. I stared at her, my heart plummeting. Laura, what are you doing? I choked out, a frantic, desperate denial already forming in my throat. I know you're the one who broke up me and Anthony's wedding, she screamed, her eyes blazing with fury. I stood there, stunned, my face burning, sweat prickling under my arms. What are you talking about? I stammered, still trying to deny, to understand. I bugged Anthony's house after the wedding was called off, she shrieked, her voice echoing through the stunned silence. I wanted to see if there was another girl, but the only girl I had to worry about was you. My best friend. She whirled, looking at Todd, who now stared at me with pure disgust. And not only did I tell Todd about your past, she snarled, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper, but Todd and I have been intimate for the past year. This was our plan all along. We're going to be together now. My world imploded. The air left my lungs. She ran to Todd, grabbed his face, and kissed him deeply, passionately, right there in front of everyone. If anyone is getting married today, she announced to the horrified crowd, it's going to be me. Chaos erupted. Gasps, murmurs, absolute pandemonium. I couldn't breathe. I just ran. I ran out of that room, out of that church, tears blinding me. I just wanted to disappear. Anthony, my dear brother, was right behind me. He found me in the dressing room, sobbing uncontrollably. He just held me, letting me cry into his arms. How could she? I choked out, my voice raw with pain and utter betrayal. He just kept saying over and over that it would be okay. But in that moment, I honestly didn't know if anything would ever be okay again. What would you have done in my place? I'm genuinely asking because I still don't know how to pick up the pieces after something like that.